Morning. Morning. I can say hello to Janine Morris. Of course I can. Oh, giving her a shout out. She's in hospice. Oh, look, a huge shout out to Janine. Who's just said that? Felicity Cook. Can everyone get Mark to say hi to Janine Morris, who is a paid member? She is now in hospice care. Please get him to give her a shout out. A huge shout out to Janine Morris. And Felicity Cook, we've got a few cards that we've got going out later this weekend. Felicity Cook, if you could send us Janine Morris's address, and we'll drop her a note. Send it down to Michelle. How are we all this morning? How are we? It's brilliant news. It's going to be the coldest bank holiday weekend, I think, in a long time. That cheers me up no end. It would have been Carnival weekend, wouldn't it? Which would have meant a washout. But given that it's not happening, that doesn't distress me so much. Morning, Lucy, Penny Legate, Georgina Demetrio, Steph Coleman, Gabrielle. Thank you. This is some people call it my Dennis the Menace jumper. I call it my Freddy Krueger jumper. Marjorie McCormick, I have said a hello to Janine, and I've asked for her address of her hospice so we can send her a card. Good morning, Suzanne Stone. Leo, hope you're well. By the way, Leo, loving your art. You're being not only highly productive, but it's just wonderful stuff. I'll do a little share on my Insta stories today. Go and check out Leo Vibe Feeler on her Instagram. It's a Freddy Krueger jumper, isn't it? Heather Gunn, you've had now. I suppose people are saying they've got their children off school. I always seem to remember going back to school in September. But is it schools in Scotland that have gone back earlier, isn't it? 3 a.m. in Houston, Texas. Good morning, Danosaurus. Hi, Mike Hanlon in Houston, Texas. It's my 49th birthday today, Suzanne Stone. Happy birthday to you. It's Paula Farron, FAS. Morning, Mark. It's chuckling down here in Dublin. Chucking down, but I actually like chuckling. I love the idea of the rain laughing its way to the ground. For those of you who may be new, I don't think there are many new to these coffee mornings, but do hit the thumbs up. And if you like what you like, if you like what you see, and if you like what we chat about, payday today, whoop whoop, Vicky, way, winning. Morning, Mark, how are you and Nadia? We're good, thank you, Emma Louise, we're very good. Nadia is loosing today. This is slightly, the coffee mornings are happening a little bit earlier now, only because kind of all of our sort of days are getting busier. Bit mizzly here in Kerno. Sue Thorpe, loved your review of Enola Holmes. Can't wait for it to come out. It's good, isn't it? This is the new Millie Bobby Brown trailer for her new movie, Netflix movie, which, name drop. We were allowed to visit her on set and hang out for a day whilst they shot actually what in the trailer looks like one of the key scenes, which is someone nearly falling through the door of a train. Anyway, it was all very good fun. Go and check out our trailer reaction. It's on our channel. We've also done, I think, one of the first reviews of Tenet in the UK, because of course it hasn't come out in America yet, the big Christopher Nolan film. Huge anticipation, less about how brilliant a film it is, though check out our review and we give you an honest review, but more about how it could potentially help the theatrical cinema experience. The other thing about cinemas, of course, a little bit like theatres, if people go to the cinema, they generally also go to places to eat. So it's how inextricably entwined so many parts of our economy are, isn't it? Which is the key, I think, to economic recovery. Good day from Perth, Australia. Who said that? Who said that? Can't find you. Getting a heat wave here in the UK towards the end of next week, are we, Sue? Oh, right, okay, that's good. Let's have a little look at the weather forecast. Nanny Di is good. She's, as you probably saw from my post, she wanted me to share in her sort of malaise from the perspective of a 70-year-old, and I thought it was a very wise thing to do, because as with a lot of our sort of mental health or mood-based sort of stuff that we upload on Instagram and here, it is about sharing and hearing that you're not alone in whatever issues you're going through. On that note, I probably will be doing a new mental health chat just to check in with you guys at some point over the next 4 or 5 days. Yeah, Laura Lawler. I know lots of people are going mad for the Tom Cruise. Have you seen the Tom Cruise film of him going to see Tenet? Hi, Mark and Nadia and Nanny Di and Lee and all of the family subs. Hello, Sarah Parsons. Leo Vivila, how are you, Penny? All right, sorry, having a cross chat, as I call it. What did Nanny Di say, Mark, please? Cat a girl. Nanny Di's she's feeling better now, but she just had one of those waves like we all have from the perspective of a 70-year-old. You know, she doesn't have lots going on in her life, but what little she did have going on in her life has sort of been closed down, you know, because, and the problem is it's not just the act of reopening all the things that she did, like the gym and all that kind of stuff, but it's also, you know, the new layers of stress, PPE, social distancing, things not quite being the way they were, I think dissuades a lot of us from going and doing things that we normally did just at the drop of a hat, doesn't it? And I think for older people, that can lead to a staying indoors, which then leads to, you know, on a very low level, just not being as fit or not as inclined, your energy levels depleting. And you know what I mean? And then I think that sort of has an effect on the ments. You know, she struggles in her flat to, you know, keep encouraging her to sort of meet up with her. She has got lots of people who want to be her friends, but she's a bit like me, you know, she doesn't want to connect too much. Not because she's horrible or antisocial, she just, I don't know, I think she just sees it as a burden for other people that everyone wants to get through. So yeah, so she'll be coming back. She's coming back to us on Sunday. We haven't done much vlogging recently, actually, because things have just been very samey. So we will vlog with Nan. We've got a Green-Fingered Hell coming soon. And on that note, does anyone know if, you know, in Wales, the bubble and numbers of family you can be with has changed? Have they changed here? Has there been any notable change? I mean, I haven't seen anything notified. I mean, have we got to a point now? Is it still the same thing of limited to 2 families outside your bubble core family, if you know what I mean? Does anyone know? I know in Wales, I think they increased it to 4, didn't they? They increased it to 4 families. Let me know if you know. Now, in terms of in the news today, in The Guardian, they're talking about, there's a report by the Children's Society, and I think this is interesting, and I think me and Nadia will probably do this on our Confessions of a Modern Parent. Oh, by the way, new Confessions of a Modern Parent is up today. It's all about the stresses of birthdays. If you're a parent to a teen or a tween, it's about the stresses from a parent's perspective of birthdays. The cost, the things you do, you know, all of that sort of stuff. And really cost and stress around that and keeping up with the Joneses is a big one. So yeah, so have a check of that. The link is below. The link is below this video. What have we got here? Love Confessions of a Modern Parent, Laura Lawler. Yeah, so it's all about the stresses of birthdays. The stresses of birthdays. Tony Voskanian, Labour Day, Mark. Will you be doing a relationship one soon? Stephanie Green, we will. We're doing 2 actually next week, and we're going to schedule them to land. So we're going to be doing a couple next week of how to stay married so far. What's a tween? A tween is someone who's not quite a teenager, but is not quite a toddler. So you're looking at between 10 and 12, or 10 and 13, if you're 12 as well. Labour Day, Mark. If the government want as many of us to go back to the office, public transport will be rammed again, which has been... Gabrielle, yeah. Laura Lawler, you saw Batman being filmed in Glasgow. How cool is that? It's being filmed in Glasgow. Leo, I've historically dreaded birthdays. Well, we talk about that as well, because not all kids necessarily want great big shindigs and celebrations. I mean, Kiki's a good example. She likes to have a nice little private affair, and then it becomes a lot more about what sort of birthday Nadia wants her to have, rather than what Kiki wants to have. Because I'm also of the quiet variety, you know, like, let's not go on about it. Nicholas Sinnott, you enjoyed the Enola Holmes. Yeah, it's fun, isn't it? Yeah, the new Millie Bobby Brown film. Laura Lawler, it was a stunt double, no Robert Pattinson. Yeah, we had them filming Morbius in Crystal Palace Park. We didn't get, sadly, Jared Leto. We had a double. I see Labour Day. Yeah, no, we're still waiting on this bloody thing from the Netherlands. It's until they start sending these pregnancy suits. I'm going to check my emails because Nadia copied me in. Let's have a look. Yeah, no, still haven't got anything. We're sort of waiting for the delivery, notification of a delivery day on that. Where's your lovely wife? She's on her way into Loose Women at the moment. 100 years of women's vote in the USA, 19th Amendment, all the photos of the landmarks, Faith Goodman. That's a lovely thing today. 99 people in Torbay have COVID infection. I'm so worried. Laura, Mark, would you consider writing an autobiography with you, Nadia and Di? Well, I'm not going to say too much, but we might be me and Nadia might be writing something else together in the foreseeable. So there you go. Don't forget, we're going to be showing you, we're going to be receiving copies of our new book soon, Honey, I Homeschooled the Kids. So, for, lots more people, a lot of the press, we're doing a lot of press interviews next week for it. And there's a surprisingly large interest. Well, not surprisingly, but it's kind of astonishing the publishers just how much interest there is in this. Again, as we said to many people in the last few days, we are not anti-school at all. In fact, Kiki has come through homeschooling to get to a point where she's researched and found a school that she's would like to go to from the age of 14. Homeschooling, but it is a choice. It's a choice for parents, and we've written a book basically to hold people's hands who make that choice or decision. We've written the book we wish had been available when we started, because we made many mistakes, we got very stressed about things, we got worried about things, and we try and take the heat out of it. We also try and talk people through our own stories. There's quite a bit of autobiography in there. We talk about our own childhoods and schooling. And it comes out officially on September the 3rd. The pre-orders are on Amazon. I think the link is below here. We've obviously got the various people that won our competition, some of whom we're taking to your houses, some of whom don't want to do that, but we might meet them in London for Loose Women or transport you down or whatever. So we're looking forward to that. But so you're probably going to be getting sick to death of us in the press. So we will be doing a Confessions of a Modern Parent about homeschooling, and our experiences of it and all that sort of stuff. As I say, do hit the thumbs up if you like our channel and enjoy our content, and go and watch something else if you don't. In Wales, the paper on the 22nd said it's up to 4 households will be able to join together to form a bubble. Yeah, that's not the case in the UK, is it? If it's one extra household in England, if you have nanny die around, then the kids see friends and makeup lady come in. Is that too many? I just don't bloody get it. It's so confusing. You're allowed to see up to God knows how many people in one day, as long as you're in the garden and socially distanced. Isn't that right? And you're allowed to be with, if nanny dies in our bubble, we're one family, we're allowed to be with one other household. Is that right? Is that still the limit? I think that's still the limit. And yeah, lots more. A couple of How to Stay Married so far coming in the next couple of weeks. Is that right? There are more people homeschooling. And Purple Snowdrop, there are going to be a lot more people. They're going to be, well, yes, we're appearing on Loose Women, I think, next week. Talking about it. There's going to be a lot more people homeschooling, I think, come at the beginning of this term. A lot of them are going to sort of be stumbling into it, I think. So we're kind of hoping that the book will, inadvertently, the timing of it is perfect, the book will be able to, as we say, hold their hand. So what's that? Second bubble, Scotland, 3 households and 8 people. And in the UK, what is it? Do we know? 2 households in the house, then up to 10 people outside, Rachel Louise. 2 households in the house. Does that include the household that lives in the house? Or is it 2 households plus the family that live in the house? Do you know what I mean? Just 8 out of date Marmite 2016, Sarah Jordan. What was that like? I'd have thought Marmite out of date tastes the same, doesn't it? Anyway, one of the things we're going to talk about in Confessions of a Modern Parent at some point, not in today's is all about birthdays, is British kids being the unhappiest in Europe. Isn't that depressing? Isn't that depressing? Isn't that an absolute sort of damning of our society, that our kids, of all the kids, and apparently our kids are the unhappiest because the fear of failure is biggest amongst our children. Could that be anything, God forbid, with our ludicrous education system, which puts pressure on teachers, it puts pressure on students, it puts pressure on parents to simply perform rather than learn organically. There's no value, actually, and this is something we talk about a lot in the books, but I think this is why kids are unhappy. Too much of learning is geared towards prospective potential jobs that in themselves still don't even exist, and certainly won't after this pandemic. So we are kind of promoting a little bit of a false narrative. Learning is key, education is key, but we need to liberate the way in which we teach. We need to be able to free it of these really restrictive and restrained criteria, both in terms of qualifications, in terms of syllabus. It needs to be, we need to loosen up the rules, and we need to be able to inspire kids and inspire teachers. This is the bit that gets me. I used to lecture, when I came out of university, I taught in an art college, a couple of art colleges for a while. And we were allowed to really be adventurous in the way that we taught. Sometimes you might, you still get bad teachers. You get good and bad at everything, don't you? But if you free up the creativity and potential for teachers to do what comes to them more instinctively, or for them to feel a classroom and get a sense of what will float with that group, rather than coming in with a preordained set structure and then forcing it on the group, you're going to get, surely, it's the most simple, logical approach to education, isn't it? And I'm saying, so the story that's in today's Guardian, I've just seen it online, the headline, I haven't got the full story in front of me yet, I haven't got the papers, is that our kids in the UK are the unhappiest because of a fear of failure. They live in fear of failure. What do you think, guys? What do you think about that? Nothing in nature grows by being measured. What a lovely quote. I love that, Faith Goodman. Nothing in nature grows by being measured. Well, another quote that I've been trotting around a hell of a lot as we talk to journalists is GCSEs, A-levels and exams, they measure the system, not the person. Yeah, so if you don't get the right grade, it doesn't necessarily mean you're wrong. It just means the system used to measure you is wrong. Do you see what I mean? And I think that is one of our problems. Can you draw, Mark? Janet Sharp. I'm afraid I actually can. I can draw. Not naturally in a sort of flowing way, but if I sit down and try and draw something, I can get a great likeness, and I enjoy it. Yeah, I like drawing, but I certainly can't draw as well as, say, Leo. Sorrow taste. We don't teach kids to cope with the world. We just put unending amounts of pressure on them and expect perfect human beings. I quit lecturing for that reason. Did you, Sarah? Yeah, there you go. You're absolutely on the money there. Absolutely on the money. We've got to a point where the L word, learning, and Maddie talks about this in her peer group, because obviously a lot of Maddie's friends have gone through the system. The L word is a bit of a dirty word. Oh, I don't want to learn. Oh, what do you mean, learning? Oh, what do you mean we're going to learn? If learning is a dirty word, education hasn't done its job. It's essentially alienated people, and it's become a terrible hurdle just to get over. Laura Lawler, I'm a teacher. Ooh, just lost you. Hang on. Our focus when children returned was advised to focus on well-being, mental health, but my son started high school. He says they've been given double periods and told they can go on phones. That's curious, go on phones as well. Double periods, yeah. I'm worried that there's going to be this cramming situation where there's going to be a perception, because we're so limited and the government are so limited in their attitude to these things, that because of time lost, you simply replace it by doing double time. It doesn't work like that. The brain and the heart and the human does not work like that. It's why we're so stressed. Cultures like Japan, where, there are high rates of depression, isolation, loneliness, and suicide amongst young adults, that has come about due to the extraordinary pressures of systematizing their lives in every way. If you treat your population or encourage it, and this is the mistake, you see, I think we don't treat, you'd say, oh yeah, but we're all free to do what we want. We're not free to do what we want. If you don't do these things, you can't live, you can't eat, you can't survive. So I do genuinely think, this idea of freedom, it's kind of, it's about how the government translates these rules and basically gaslights us as a population. We're gaslit, generally. Laura Lawler, so much focus on deadlines, and you're absolutely right. Nikki Burton, sorry, good morning from Guernsey, 110 days of no COVID. Katie Greening, that's good. Life on the island is bliss and normal. Schools open fully in June. Do a live draw along, Mark. Catagal, ooh, that could be intriguing. 2 days ago on the Gov website says you can meet in groups of up to 6 people who you do not live with or are not in your support group, Suzanne Stone. But is that in the house or is that in the garden? Gabrielle, employers will need to change their recruitment based on education. I think everyone should be educated. I think my ideal would be a school system or an education system where everyone is educated and we take it as trust that we get all this information into our kids. No one's graded, but as they move through ages, they want to go to other institutions where maybe the learning is a bit more sophisticated. They're allowed in based on interview alone. And in that interview, it's up to the interviewers. Like when you interview for a job, you rarely give them an exam. I mean, in some you do, but you don't give them an exam to pass, do you? You meet the person, you listen to the person. And many jobs, when I was employing lots and lots of people, I wouldn't look at their qualifications. I would look at the person presented to me. And then more often than not, I would look at people who didn't have the formal education because they were more interesting. It's a terrible fact. A lot of homeschooling kids get into universities or go to universities to do the courses with none of the formal qualifications, but based upon a scintillating face-to-face interview. That's how it works with performing arts colleges as well. It's based on audition, it's based on extracurricular activities. You know, that's where Maddie's very good. She's done lots of shows, plays, songs, gigs. You know, she does lots of micro courses, acting courses, screen acting courses. So then when she goes and auditions and she sits down and she goes to the cinema, the theatre, the art gallery and all that, she's plugged in. You know, that will get her, and that might mean she goes to college and does a 3-year degree, but she hasn't had to go the formal route, the stressful route of A-levels and English, A-levels and GCSE. Anyway, all of that is about why do you think UK kids are perhaps the unhappiest? Come on, guys, let's pass it over to you. Hit the thumbs up, guys. Hit the thumbs up if you like what we're talking about. I really want to get another coffee, but I don't want to leave you on your own. Yeah, they think out of the box, so refreshing. How they come across, exactly. My daughter, Denise Nelson-Gale, my daughter could only learn if the lesson was made interesting and fun, absolutely. Unfortunately, 90% of the time the lessons were dictative and hence she learnt very little. Exactly. Yeah. This is it, you see. All of the teachers I remember were the teachers who slightly broke the rules or made connections outside of the subject we were learning. So my introduction to film came from all my English teachers. My introduction to a lot of history came from my English teachers as well, actually. History teachers introduced me to politics. It's kind of natural, isn't it? But, you know, the way in which subjects kind of... I did one of the first... I think I did politics O-level before such a thing existed. Shelley Moss, they need to be back in school. Some do, some don't. I think, you know, this one size fits all isn't right for everyone. Vlogs will be coming later, Chrissy, absolutely. Natasha Tiramos, kids also are forced to do too many subjects which they never use later on in life. They should be able to choose more of what they're good at. Well, that's the kind of school Kiki's going to. She's found a school, it's a state school, and it does a lot of, it has more emphasis on the arts-based subjects with a practical vocational application. Things like wardrobe design, set design, alongside English, maths, history, English, maths, science. Yeah. I get freaked out by companies that do IQ tests as part of their recruitment process. Oh, yeah, no, that would be horrendous. Who's that? And Gamlin, morning, Mark. Never Catch a Live. Can I have a shout out, please? Yes, of course you can on this fair Friday morning. So UK kids, children need structure, whatever the education. You're absolutely right. Just, it doesn't necessarily have to be a school structure. It can be, you know, all manner of different structures. What I'm saying is that no one is querying the need or demand or desire for education of our children. That is an absolute priority. I'm saying that the way in which it is force-fed in one rigid way, we are all blindly accepting of this one way. And there are many highly educated educationalists, politicians, teachers, ex-teachers, who all believe that the system needs to be loosened up, not around the structure, whatever that structure is. It can be a loose structure. We have structure with our girls too. But, that structured approach to learning, you need to take the fear of failure out of it, because failure is a crucial part of success. And what is success? One person's success isn't another person's. My son, Nicky Burton, got very bad mental health when he was at secondary school. Absolutely. Rachel Sayers, I flipped a coin to choose my GCSE courses, wasn't interested in any of them. I mean, we were talking yesterday someone was interviewing us about the book, and we were talking about mental health with our kids. We were talking about the ability for children to kind of get in touch with their emotions and sort of be emotionally intelligent. I think there needs to be some kind of GCSE or some kind of qualification or some kind of teaching. Okay, forget the qualification, but some kind of teaching around being an emotional human being, being a kind member of society. I mean, I know there are sort of things which you can do which are about what it means to be a sort of fully functioning member of society, but I think there needs to be more of that. I teach Natasha Tiramos. I teach piano to kids from 5 to 18, and the dropout rate once they get to GCSEs is so high because they can't cope with the extra pressure. Parents also tend to be very focused on exams, even with music. Yeah. We're all, we are human beings. As human beings, we have been granted this brain which has the capacity to query, interrogate, question and challenge. And yet when it comes to education, the government and the system asks us to just put all that to one side and just blithely plough on in one way. And you're absolutely right, Natasha Tiramos, to be too focused on exams. Focus on learning. Learning is different to exams. So what do we think about this next topic? So that's kids unhappiest in Europe. Keep your comments coming up, because I know this feed goes out at different times. You see different parts of it at different times. Government are now going to use a media push to get people back into their offices, and this kind of ties up with why Pret Manger is in the title. So Pret Manger have announced that they're losing, I think, 2,800 jobs. You go around London, the vast majority of Pret Mangers are shut. The head of Pret Manger said they're going to lose the equivalent of 10 years of growth in 3 months. And that led me to one of two thoughts. On the one hand, it made me think, shit, that's awful, obviously, for everyone who's lost their jobs. And is this a sort of bellwether for other companies and, where footfall is required for them to survive, cafes and things like that, urban centres, all that kind of stuff, get it. But then it led me to think, there was a time before this crisis where I thought there are too many Pret Mangers everywhere. Is there an argument that some of these companies, yes, these companies employ people, but also some of these companies become voraciously huge, don't they? Squeezing out smaller businesses, taking away all the kind of independent stores. So, yes, it's terrible that Pret Manger has sort of lost 10 years of progress, but maybe it had sort of expanded too rapidly. Anyway, the big question I want to ask is, should the government use scare tactics? And I'll tell you what the scare tactics they're going to use, and this is going to be intriguing seeing how this plays out over the next 2 weeks. I think they're going to start to do the morally indefensible not to go to school thing we've had. Like anyone who was worried about going to school didn't believe in education, not the case at all, but morally indefensible. We're now going to have morally indefensible if you don't go into your office place. So they're going to be promoting, and I think some of the stuff they've got to promote is quite key. Better for your mental health to be socially engaged with people. I can kind of see that. I can kind of understand that. Connecting. But a lot of people working from home or working sort of flexi working are still going to have time to meet work colleagues in hubs or meetings, and I'm sure socially people are still going to meet up, aren't they? So there's that. The other way they're going to scare people, I think it is scare tactics. They're suggesting that without that face-to-face time with your bosses, they're going to be more inclined, or they're going to find it easier to issue P45s, which is essentially saying you're fired. I think that's real scaremongering. I think that's a really unforgivable way to go about it. Just as we come out of the biggest economic shock to the system, we're now going to say to people who are making very, there's this idea that everyone's blithely sat back just going, yeah, I want to stay at home now. Lots of companies can't afford to look after people in their offices. A lot of companies are going to look at their overheads because their margins have gone down. Lots of people are suddenly finding themselves more able and less stressed in paying their mortgage and their rent because they're not having to pay extortionate fees to travel on crowded trains where they can't even be guaranteed a chair. And then you're going to say to them, if you don't return to that, your boss might fire you. I personally think that, I mean, it's in the Telegraph today. I think it's in the Times. I think that isn't if that's going to be the media push, I think it's absolutely outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. What do you think, guys? Now, let's jump into the defence of the government. The government are coming from the perspective of, without that return of footfall, our urban centres are going to become ghost towns. And, you know, you've seen probably in our vlogs, me and Nadia have been into town a couple of times, and it's worrying. Now, we were in 2 days ago to see Tenet, and it was back, it felt kind of back to, it was busy, you know, there were tourists and what have you. Let's see what Gabrielle has to say. I would have to get on a busy train to get to work, which I would refuse to do. I'm working from home until the end of the year. I would love to see my work colleagues, but it's too much of a risk. My partner got told if he doesn't go in, he'd get fired, but he had a reason why he didn't want to go, because I have asthma and my son has breathing problems. You see, this is the thing. It's surely this is company dependent though, Rachel Louise. So they will allow people to work from home. Most companies I work with have all changed to a work from home policy. Yeah, but I'm worried that the government are going to bring in some kind of almost punishment or penalty if companies don't force their employees back to work. Or they'll give some kind of incentive to companies to re-get their employees. But I think this I thought it was a really, I mean, this isn't formal government policy. These are reports in the papers about how the government might approach this. And this could be one of those situations like we've seen a lot through this pandemic, where the government drop a news story or a potential news story or decision, policy decision, into the press, see how it's reacted to, and then retract it. But Good Thinking TV, this is what I've heard a lot on LBC and on the radio. My friend is saving £600 a month on commuting to the office in London. Think about that, £600 a month. That's nearly 9,000 a year. What was it, 7,200 a year? Why would you want to, if you didn't have to spend that, that was probably paying your friends the majority, if not all, of their living costs. And if you're still being able to do the job that you're proud of for a company that's still getting value for money from you, why? Why do something that is unnecessary? You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. I think Faith Goodman, our friends are saving so much money by not commuting and working from home. Absolutely. People are going to be better off. People are going to be better off. There used to be something, I don't know if they still do it, but when you used to work for, you know, when I used to have a Saturday job as a kid, there'd be something called London waiting. You'd be paid a little bit extra because of the higher costs of living in London. Oh, cold espresso. Purple Snowdrop. My daughter's company has decided it's going to do work from home for always. She's saving £300 in petrol a month. I mean, people are saving ludicrous amounts of money. And I get it. I get how for the government this presents a real challenge. But with senior Tory MPs pressurising the government into saying you need to have some kind of carrot and stick policy with the working population, my worry is that they're going to start introducing this idea of morals and, you know, do your bit for the country, you're not dig for Britain, but, you know, go into the office for Britain. That's going to be the next bloody, I hate this jingoistic, nationalistic nonsense. Do your bit for Britain, sod all of that. Come on, let's do something for humanity. You know, all this sort of regionalising of everything is just, I find it so, it's so sort of 1972. Ironically, Boris seems to work from home a lot. Steph B. He does. If I'm fair to Boris, I think Boris is one of those guys he's a bit of a metropolitan, isn't he? Probably secretly, he can give a sod about it. But they are looking at all sorts of, you know, and there are all those businesses in central London that are struggling. So many shops that aren't open and what have you. But you know, could this just be one of those moments that happen in most civilizations where the structures of society and our economic system have to shift? Conversely, lots of suburbs are doing really well. And in the suburbs, there are far more independent businesses, shops, cafes, and what have you, because the big corporate companies haven't gobbled up all the really expensive real estate in central London with ludicrous rentals. So perhaps, there's one way of looking at this, is that it's a Robin Hood moment where the wealth and footfall and expenditure in central London on really rich businesses like Pret that can afford to stream down is going to be evened out and pushed out. This is a positive way of looking at it, to all those smaller businesses like the local cafe and the local, you know, your local cinemas and all that kind of stuff in the suburbs. So like round us, Crystal Palace, West Norwood, Streatham, you know, could all those shops feel a stronger presence, and could the you know, that, you know, maybe it's just something we're going to have to bite the bullet on. Maybe central urban centres are going to become more touristy, are going to become more, I don't know, restaurant. I mean, you don't want empty ghost towns, but we're going to have to think about this, aren't we? So there we go. Those are some thoughts for the day. If you like our chats, hit the thumbs up. There will be a vlog of some form landing today. It might be a green-fingered hell. It could be a vlog. I'm not too sure which it is. I'm going to be getting to editing that probably this afternoon. We've got some interviews for the book to do, and some homeschooling to do, and yeah, so look guys, hit the thumbs up if you're enjoying this and you like our channel, and do check out, we saw I Hate Susie last night with Billy Piper. Our review went up last night, live review. Cracking little series. It's almost like the Patrick Melrose of a young woman's life spinning out of control as nude pictures of her are hacked online. So, you know, Billy Piper, great, cracking actress. Check that out. Check out our review of Tenet, if you're thinking of going to the cinema. Do support your local cinemas. You wear a mask going in, but you're allowed to lift it up, take it down when you want to eat stuff. You know, they are being socially distanced in their seating arrangements. So, you know, do support your local cinemas if you can. And what else? And Millie Bobby Brown's trailer. Go and check that out. It looks great fun. All right, guys, lots of love. Have a good day. Happy Friday. Members Live tomorrow, by the way. Not too sure what time, but Members Live tomorrow.